right. Hello, everyone, visitors who are here with us today, and those of us who will be watching the recording again later. This is such an exciting meeting for me. I am your host today, Dr. Patricia Carlin, and I am a member of the IIBA in the Bluegrass. And Aaron is my mentor, newest friend in IIBA, and helps us make all these things happen, all these amazing events happen. One of the founders of our chapter. So it's just an exciting evening. Tonight, I will be talking with Jonaki Moitra. Jonaki is a BA, and not just a BA on the street, but a BA that's rising, and one of my dearest former colleagues in my career. So it is really exciting to talk about. We have about three topics, and then we will also, of course, take some questions if there are any. Feel free to put them in the chat and we'll try to get to those at the end. We have some major focus areas that we wanted to talk about first. Now, we're all thinking about our careers. That's why we're involved in organizations and professional development. And if we look at like the beginning and end of a BA career, you want to see some growth during that time. You don't want to, you don't want to go up or down the hill, right? You want to have some growth in your career. And one person in my connection group, Janaki, is one of those people who has done such amazing things with her role as a BA at Carnival Cruise Lines that I wanted her to share her wisdom with all of you today. We're going to start off by letting her talk about how she started there, maybe some little bit of sprinkles of advice if you're a new BA, and then how she managed to convert her career to constantly interacting with presidents and C-suites. Don't we all want to do that? So, Janaki, welcome. And please give us a little career overview. Let's hear about like how you started as a BA and then when I first met you, I know that you have just really catapulted yourself very, very far. So let's hear about how did you manage to do that? And what are some advice that you might have for some of the rest of us who want to grow our career as a BA plus?
Thank you very much. My name is Tadaichi. I'm working for a Japanese multinational company. And previously, I've worked with a IT company named NEC. And I implement the SAP rollout and many SaaS system. And currently, I'm transfer job to the different company, semiconductor manufacturing equipment company. And now I'm leading a, I don't know, business analysis in a company. That's
All right.
my
So
brief.
how many years, Tadaichi, have you been in the BA field?
Uh, Around 5 years.
5
Before that,
years.
my career is supply chain. I
Okay. And
converted
supply
to
chain?
from supply chain IT to the BA. So
Okay. Wow.
that's 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Saichi. Janaki, tell us about your career trajectory and give us some advice if you have any for those of us who are not growing it as we might want.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Patricia. That was so kind of you to say such kind words. So I, 10 years ago, started my career in business analysis. Joined cruise line more as a contractor, not knowing whether I'm going to last over a month there. Uh, and very quickly in my career, I learned like most problems that we face in technology has to do with people and less about the technology itself. And that's when I really enjoyed working for Carnival because it was like a floating city. You have casino, you have marketing, you have loyalty, you have hotel, airline, retail. Think about any industry that you're probably going out and getting some domain experience in all of that under one floating city of that of a cruise line. So I joined Carnival, spent a lot of time there under ship operations and really understood how the supply chain works, how the operation works, and served as their product BA in some different portfolios, medical, food and beverage, and also digital channels like the Hub app. Then transitioned my career into product management for Hard Rock and Panera. So tried selling bread online and tried selling guitars, and listening to rock did not work for me. Came back to selling cruises again and pivoted my career into business architecture. And I know in most BAs' journey, a very natural pivot is that from business analysis to product management or project management. But for now, I have pivoted into business architecture, and that was a role that didn't exist in this organization, right? And within my career, what I have learned is being a BA empowers you to be in rooms where you can really see visions and decisions being made. And you have a choice there, whether you're going to be an order taker or a persona of that of a waiter or a lawyer, and really ask the right questions and influence the right people. And the moment I learned that very early, that's exactly what I started doing. Instead of focusing on how the technology is going to be built, I focused on who are the power players? How do I build better relationship with them? What is coming in technology pipeline? How do I build trust between business and IT? And that catapulted my career where I kept doing the same thing, which is facilitating. My audience changed. It used to be one project team, one scrum team, to multiple scrum teams, to one business unit, to multiple business units, to directors, to VPs. And today I work with the C-suite for Carnival Cruise Lines, helping them map their enterprise strategy and roadmap. So within a 10-year roadmap, for a Fortune 500 company that is so distributed as a business, what I learned was my biggest superpower was being a BA and being a listener in the room. So yeah, that's my trajectory. I just built a position for me just by leveraging my role as a BA and not giving in to what you're taught or what you're told and challenging that status quo a little bit.
Yeah, so innovation isn't just about technology, it's also about innovating how we work with other people and the tools that we use to help others. One of the things that, and I have had the pleasure of working with you on a couple of projects, some things stand out to me that I have witnessed that you have done remarkably well. And one of those things you mentioned earlier is like, do you want to be an order taker or do you want to be a lawyer? And I think if we compare those two things, I think a lot of us know where we would want to land. We would not want to just be conveying ideas from the kitchen back to a table and vice versa, but also directing, leading judges and juries and users along a path, along a guided path. One skill that I noticed that you're really fantastic at is asking questions. So lawyers ask questions. And one of the ways that we elicit information as a BA is by asking all of the right questions. So I see that in the career you have worked with project teams such as my own. And like you said, a floating city, we worked together on a project for electronic health records, which was really at the time highly, highly innovative, highly, highly tricky because it's an international company. We faced constraints as far as what we could do in Europe and other parts of the world versus what we could do in the United States. And those also deep technology for HIPAA law. So you not only were a lawyer, but on that project you also had to be a lawyer, not just because of those constraints, but like because your way of questioning people is a way you elicited information from us, and you had to work with, I know on this project, you had to work with IT and legal and project management and architecture and all the different teams, also infrastructure, in order to get all those requirements. And I know that also testing is one of the things that BAs can really provide, like a lot of guidance for people who are also going to be doing testing. So when you think about this kind of ecosystem of all the different teams that you have to work with, can you give us some advice about like how would I approach that? If I'm a new BA, you're an experienced BA with a decade under your belt, but if I'm a new BA, like how can I like chip apart these multifaceted, multi-complicated team kind of projects? Do you have any advice for somebody like me who maybe I'm a newer BA and I don't really know, where to start when I have that many facades to deal with?
Absolutely. So it all depends on, again, stepping back and understanding what point in the game are you being introduced as a new player, right? You may be a new player, but the game's on for a very long time. And what is super important is when you come into a project like yours, right? You guys were already in implementation stages where a vendor was already selected. A project scope was already finalized. You guys had CapEx funding. So right off the bat, I knew that product on your team, that was the medical team at that point, had a very strong understanding and vision of what is it that they're going to implement and spend all these CapEx dollars at. So questioning them was not a very difficult task for me because there was a defined scope. However, ambiguity was there at that point was more around how are we going to do these things, right? So there are what and how, right? So what are we building and how are we building it? So when it came to teams like legal, it was also around what. What are we doing? About customer medical data and what laws are we breaking or we are putting ourselves in jeopardy. And again, questions always being articulated as what for such business units. When you talk to infrastructure teams and your architecture teams, this is where you now are delving into the how question. Remember, your content is the same. We are securing our customers' electronic health data, for example, right? But at the end of the day, your audience, even though it's the same question, you just have to frame it differently. Mm-hmm. So when it's your business, we ask them what. When it's IT, we ask them how. And just that one simple framing, number one, you're taking away any ambiguity around what kind of input do they have to provide? Are they going to provide policy guidance because they're a legal company and they don't necessarily understand the tech? And quite frankly, they don't have to. And then we talk to the IT teams, right? And also sometimes pausing as a new BA by not just taking an information and directly running to the implementation team and development team. A lot of times in my career, I have seen that when you are very young in your career, whatever your environment is, you think that's all, that's know all and be all, right? It's important to step out and kind of, again, learn to play the game and understand that, okay, if I have heard this from one stakeholder, what role is the stakeholder really playing? Is this person an authority figure or a decision maker? Is this person an influencer? Is this person a cheerleader? Or is this person somebody who wants to keep control and doesn't want us to talk to anybody else? And based on just understanding that level of human behavior, coupled with whatever business unit that they are serving, in terms of, whatever knowledge that they're giving, those two helped me decide what my next move was. Because a lot of time in my career as BA, you're told one thing, but the person who told you that may have a totally different political intention on why that information was shared with you. And a lot of times as collaborators and BAs, we forget that office politics play a big role in success and failure of people. And again, I keep saying it's not the technology that fails, it's the people. And misunderstanding and misalignment between the people and their goals is what causes failure. So hope that is helpful
Wow.
for an EPA.
Wow, I had a big aha moment right there. Let me just what I heard was there's not only personas that are users, there are personas that are our stakeholders. So we have
Yes.
to think about the role they play. So a BA has to be dancing in between like these are the personas on my political business side, and these are the personas on my user side. And those business people could be technological, legal, all sorts of roles in our organizations. And regardless of the size of an organization, there's going to be politics. And so what you're saying is in order to be successful, we really have to think about taking care of those stakeholders, understanding what power they have, what role they have in the project. And also you also mentioned at what stage am I walking into the project, which is something that I hadn't really thought about before because as a project manager, I get handed a project, and generally that project starts at zero, starts with planning. And sometimes by the time we get a BA like staffed to a project, a lot of things have gone on and they haven't been privy to, some of the stories that happened before they arrived on the scene. So I those are two big aha moments that I had there because I really in my role hadn't thought about when is the BA invited. Like sometimes the project doesn't get off the ground until you have the BA, and sometimes we're already in flight. So thanks for that. That's a good tip for somebody beginning to understand like where am I stepping into this project? What's already been decided? What can I weigh in on? And who are the personas, not only on the user side, the personas on the business and technical side. So that was a big moment for me. I really hadn't thought of that in the
And it's
past.
persona and the personality, right? So for
Yeah.
legal, a lot of them are lawyers and very headstrong,
Mm,
but they are at the end of the day supporters or policymakers. They are not the ones that are paying the buck to get IT technology project moved along, right? So understanding where the decision power lies and the type of people and the personalities that you're dealing with, how do you deal with those personalities? Do you have those skill sets? Because at the end of the day, it's the same information. And maybe you're dealing with somebody that is an indirect communicator, not a direct communicator, may have an issue with what you are saying, but will not speak up in that meeting that you as a BA are facilitating, but may send emails or Slack notifications or other behind the scene, chats to maybe their leaders or to their colleagues around to deliver that same message to you. Now, that's not wrong. That's just human. And we just have to understand how to deal with both of this communication because it's not that you're never going to have that communicator. It's only that with time, you will have more such communicator. So
right.
that's something I will definitely say is very.
Definitely the 80/20 rule applies there. The Pareto's law applies there. Project management, they often bring that up, the 80/20 rule. And a lot of our role as a project manager or a product manager is just to really to communicate, and 20% is administrative and understanding things. But I heard you mention earlier multiple different roles, and I've seen you have your trajectory there. So when you try to pivot your career, you talked about having product managers, project managers, BAs, PMs, and sometimes in my case in particular, my 100% of my job might not be BA. I might be certain percent BA and also product manager. I might be certain percent PM and also BA. So can you talk to us a little bit about like if we're trying to grow our career and pivot in the way that you have, do you have any advice on pivoting or what options might exist that maybe some newer BAs haven't thought about? And how would they maybe like go about exploring those different possibilities for their career?
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me of participating in as a new BA very quickly, of course, the roles established by the PMO and the project manager, roles and responsibility chart, but there's one thing on paper and the other thing on reality. And the reason you are wearing a product manager hat is because maybe you have weak product management, right? The reason you are wearing a solution architecture hat is because your solution architect is brand new and may not have followed the same documentation, or is Mr. Know-it-all and does not want to talk to you, or for various different reasons, right? So at that point in time, you step back and you question yourself, am I going to make this the brightest moment in my career by without stepping on toes, fill in for that position by wearing that multiple hat, but at the same time make sure that my effort is visible, and or am I not going to fill that and keep surfacing the gap and make my entire team productivity look down? So it's again whether how you are looking at that situation and your mindset. So whenever I found that in a team there was a specific role that wasn't like living up to its best standards, I did step in. But when I did step in, I never stepped on their toes. I stepped on as, okay, I'm here to help you and I am your creative collaborator and you are going to trust me to give you the right advice for you to level up. And in that process, not just that person leveled up, but so did I, because I then became not just a fixer or a problem solver, but I became a leader who empowered this person and made them learn new things. And at the same time, I became valued in eyes of my team member, because your leader may not know all the details, but your leader is somebody that you trust, and you know that when you build trust, you build visibility.
Wow, I think visibility is really important. Some roles it's really hard, some companies it's really hard. But one thing I heard you say that's a clue for those of us who want to do that is step up, don't step on. Step up,
Step
but
up,
don't step
step
on.
on.
So
That's
step
it.
up to the role, step into the role, help that person, partner with that weak link in the chain. And that's a way that you can grow your career is by finding some of these crevices that are not filled, so you get the opportunity to, in your role, kind of infiltrate as a BA, like infiltrate product management, infiltrate project management, infiltrate and be a leader in that way. And that is so exciting for me. That is really good advice. And for the new kids who are coming up, that is not something that you know when you first get your job. You get your certification, you've passed your test, you either have some kind of management or technology skills, and what's resonating and what you're saying to me over and over again is it really matters about the people skills, the communication skills, and understanding those players. So with that said, I want to go to my next topic, which is I understand you're working on a brand new website and some offerings, and I know that maybe we might be able to wink wink get some content from you, some that has not been previously made public yet, some things that you're working on in your entrepreneurial side, which is, I know, another way to grow is not just count on your company to grow, but also just look for entrepreneurial opportunities based on your talents and experience and the lack that you see in the larger market, not just the market in your own company. So I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about this new adventure that you're going on. Take us a little bit with you. Give us a little insight into where you're going with that and how we can join you on that ride.
I'm super, super excited because, you know, being a business systems analyst and studying so many systems, it wasn't very difficult for me to put one plus one together that, we are creating all these systems, and even your app, not a single app is on version 1.0. But we as human beings, once we have our system, once we are who we don't really do a version update on ourselves unless there is a big disastrous moment of something breaking. right? So something traumatic that happened either at work or at career, or in personal life, and that's what basically what we say causes your glow up moment or a rebound, like a renewal era. So for me, where that was something that I really wanted to wrap my head around, and I launched Firefly Creatives. And what Firefly Creatives is all about is it teaches you human architecture. So in business architecture, before even projects or programs are formed, we have objectives. Objectives are nothing but problems that we want to solve as an organization and empower our guests, our shareholders, our stakeholders, and our employees to give their best, right? So with that same mindset, I would basically draw enterprise blueprints on how we accomplish that. So now I have created a blueprint for us. And I call it human architecture, where I talk about for anybody who understands tech on how to overcome your patterns, improve your core repeated behaviors, how to predict what are the personas ahead of you and their behaviors, their triggers, and how to deal with such different systems that you are around by becoming a more articulate facilitator or a communicator, right? So what I have as a free resource to give away, because this is IIBA, is I would love for you guys to take a look at my freebie, which is Mastering the Room. So Mastering the Room basically teaches art of facilitation in high stake meetings. So what should your scripting be like? To your point, what types of questions should I ask? Why should I ask these questions? And I think if you're a new BA, this is super, super helpful for you, because this kind of gives you a starting point at knowing how to play the field and everything, Patricia, that we were talking before. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to share my website below. All you have to do is go on the resources tab, and you should be able to see the Mastering the Room workbook. Just go ahead, check out. It's free for all the members here. And I really hope that you guys find some value out of the book.
Oh, wow. We love being ahead of new content and being on the cutting edge, or the bleeding edge of what's new out there. So I had so many takeaways today. I learned that I don't want to be a waiter. I want to be a lawyer. I want to ask the right kind of questions and not just say one thing here and then be a little parrot and repeat over here. I want to ask in questions that are higher level and more lawyerly. I also learned that personas don't just exist in the user side, but they also in the stakeholder side, and how I can discern the importance of those people on my stakeholder side and my implementation team side and work the room, so that I can be more successful and not just be a note taker per se. None of us wants to go to school and get all these certifications just to be a note taker. So that's really, really inspiring there. And so I'm going to encourage everyone to check out the website. Aaron will help us get that website out as part of our notes and alongside the recording so that people can access the site who are watching this after we record today. And they might have questions for you, and I hope they engage with you on the site. That said, is there anyone who's present today who has questions about the content that we've heard today? And similarly, there might be something, Jonaki, that I didn't uncover that maybe you wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to open up the floor to any of our guests today who would like to ask a question, if any. I haven't been able to watch the chat and watch the conversation at the same time, but let me pull that open.
No, there's nothing in the chat at the moment. Anybody
Okay.
Any questions for Janaki or Patricia? You could come off you mute, use your voice, or you could put it in the chat, and Patricia or I will relay it to them.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ah, thank you very much. Actually, this is the first time for me to join this kind of conversation. So I'm not preparing any question right now, but currently I'm work as a business analyst, and one is a program management PMO. The program
Okay.
management PMO is very exciting task because there is 30 project is under our organization, and we need to make some approval process for
Mm,
each uh, phase. Phase
mhm,
means something like first time the business analyst make some project charter and get the approval for the starting the project.
mhm,
The next is a, project definition, the something like a discussion with the consulting company and make the what is the solution. And the next is the solution implement phase. So now I'm running the around 30 project approval process. That is one of the exciting thing. 50% of my job is this program management PMO. The another side, I'm also have a project, and one is some implementation of the company-wide EPM. EPM is connecting to the SAP and running the some enterprise financial performance view. And another project is indirect purchasing. Indirect purchasing, you know the software named Ariba or Coupa. Do it join something like add-on for the SAP.
mm.
So I'm working for this two type of activities. One is the business analyst. Is also 50%, but I'm running two projects. And 50% is program management of the 30 project.で、
Oh, yeah, you put yourself on mute, but that's a good time for me to weigh into what I heard. So, yeah, a process management is really important too. I mean, sometimes, and in my particular role, I'm the manager of the PMO where I work at Eaglebrook, and I have to put together a process for something when I see something break down. So sometimes a PMO person comes in and a project is created because a process either it doesn't exist or it's broken and we have to fix it. In which case, we have to put our BA hat on and figure out like how to resolve that and what is the scope of that kind of change. And so BAs also have to know about, they have to understand process. One of the things that I have is I have a Six Sigma green belt, and I recommend that if you're gonna start, transitioning into one of those other roles, or if your role, like Tadaichi, includes don't managing projects and process, that you can grow your career by also getting some certifications in that. And of course, we also want people to go to IIBA and get certified there. But we know that that's not a one size fits all hat because there are more and more companies and that where you have to do multiple roles in order to be successful, in order to grow your career. We heard Janaki talk about all the different areas where she had to fire on all cylinders in order to grow her career. And so the thing you're bringing up here, Tadej, is that maybe we should also consider process, which is not something that we talked about earlier. So thank you for bringing that very important point to our attention for anybody who's thinking about improving their career as a BA, is to also think about how much of your role includes process and is that a way for you to grow. And I see we have Kelly who has joined us here in the meeting. And Kelly, I'm not sure if you want to tell us a little bit about your BA role or how you touch business analysis, and if you have any questions for us today. And so if you're in a place where you can speak, we invite you, Kelly, to come off mute and hear your story. Although if she's driving, maybe I don't want, some people might be driving home from work, and I certainly don't want to cause an accident. That would not be good. So, Kelly, at any point, you feel free to unmute yourself and add something or put something in the chat if you're in a place where it's too noisy and you can't talk. Janaki, did you want to talk and did you want to mention anything about process since Taidichi brought that up? Do you have any insights?
Yes, I think he brought up a very good point of like how there are overlaps with the BA and the PMO and the program management office. One thing I will tell you, Daidichi, based on again personal experience, is with the PMO, although they do partner very heavily when it comes to funding requirements and looking at like how the implementation will take place. Again, as a BA, it gives you an opportunity because you know your stakeholders in a very different light than most of your PMO teams. And you will see that there's one thing of managing time, money, and budget, right? And there's a totally different thing of managing vision. So in program management, what I have seen is based on where you thrive as a BA. Do you thrive more in your early stages of requirements mapping and requirements management, or do you like more on the details, where you're very, very detailed requirements and, living your day-to-day life with your systems engineer as well as your QA and your IT leads? I think based on where you enjoy the that kind of dictates how you enjoy your time with your program management team. But I definitely agree that they are big influencers. And as most companies are becoming scaled agile, or just, very distributed, I don't want to say it's agile waterfall. I think it doesn't matter how you build it. At the end, you build it together. And how can we build something together better? So, program management, one of one of a very hot and highly paid careers, and in business architecture, we are kind of in parallel, but the way we look at business architecture and program management is program management comes in when you have secured funds and you're ready to go. And business architecture comes when you are a little more blue sky, but the handoff that happens to a program manager or a project manager happens from business architecture. But again, as a BA, if you are enjoying your program management space, that means you really enjoy details. And I'm so excited. I think that's a very exciting field. And I wish you all the very best in your exciting journey with PM
Yeah, both
program.
of you brought up the triangle that is belongs to the project management space. We have to worry about time, cost, quality, and both of you are correct. And like, there's just so much overlap and how those things are connected. But then Janaki, you said one thing that really caught my attention there, and which is you talked about vision. So let's talk about vision for a minute, because sometimes we get, we have a lot of projects and we can get in the weeds, or we work in a place where it's really process heavy, and sometimes we need somebody to step in and have vision. And, I've seen you do this in practice. So, an example that comes to mind for you is you were able to take a step back and then help us kind of reinvent a project that we were on. I won't mention any particular project names because I don't want to say anything that might be private to a company, or go overstate. But let's keep it in general terms. For any environment besides the one that we worked in together. And for example, when you talk about vision, tell us a little bit about like, how do we develop a vision? When I have a vision, how do I communicate that vision? Is there a time when in generic terms you can talk about like, how do you go home and do you have a process for like making that vision come to life? Because sometimes a BA is a little more outside of the project and not doing that day-to-day project management and has kind of different requirements. And so creativity, vision, can you talk a little bit about like, how do you make that come to life?
Okay. So currently, generally we have a agile project and waterfall project. But it is we have a process, but Now I'm facing the different type of the project or something like a fit to standard. The fit to standard project is not a so big project, but not a waterfall project. And it's also not agile project because fit to standard project is software development is not too much. Actually, only configuration. But business process change is most important. So then we can save the cost and save the times for the implementation. But currently, we don't have any project management standard for the fit to standard type of the project. That is my now I'm struggling for this. How to proceed the fit to standard project. Actually, the best way is make a decision for the some package. But once we select the package, we cannot make some additional function outside this package.
Oh, right, right.
That is
That's a
one of my
limitation. Yeah.
headache. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems a serious limitation. Yeah, thanks for that. This is like not
And
a process that I'm familiar with. So if you have a link that you can share with us in the chat about an example of a P2B project that you're talking about or some kind of website, I encourage you to share that in the chat. So Janaki, how about you talking to us about vision and making vision happen in
so
your process?
I'll take his example for that very second, right? So to his point, we got a module, we cannot do much around it, and we have made this decision. And this is not a waterfall, this is not, so it's not slow, it's something in the middle, iterative, it's something we have to deliver. So moments like those cause you to really take a step back, because this is when, in my opinion, IT and business are together, they're partnering. But knowledge gap can only be, so I'll give you an analogy of making a house, right? Making a house and doing the interiors are two different things. First thing is buying the land, and that's what we do with Project Chatter and funding. Like, yes, we have bought a piece of land. Then get your a solution architects to be like, all right, let's design an architect, like, how is this house going to really look? Are we going to build a brick house? Are we going to build a cement house? Are we going to build a wood house? What's the height? What's the width? And that's where your enterprise solution blueprint comes into play. Most distributed companies, because of the nature of the business, skip these steps because they are so ingrained in autonomy and me autonomously being able to do that you skip these stages. And the best way to know when do I have to vision board it is to know, have steps been skipped? And it's very easy. Immediately you'll be able to say that steps are skipped. That's why this decision doesn't really make sense. So in his use case, I have bought a module and a decision has been made and implementation has to happen. I have a deadline. Yes, it's not the most important, agile project, but it's somewhere in the middle. But a decision has been made and it's not the right decision. Those are opportunities for you to step back and ask the vision question. And again, you don't ask the vision question to the people who are facing the problem, because all that will yield is negativity and complaint. So you turn around and look for what I call as not a decision maker, but an influencer. Every business leader has an influencer, or every project has an influencer. This person may not be IT always, may not be business always, but this is somebody who is strategic, and people are going to tap on this person's shoulder before anything moves in a Fortune 500 company. And you pick that person and pitch the opportunity to vision.
Wow. So you're saying that
99% you are going to get it,
yeah,
because
so
no enterprise will say no.
yeah. And so we've already made the decision, we already have the contract, and the BA becomes like the mortar in between the bricks. And how they glue everything together is sometimes by stepping back and creating a vision and giving the business and stakeholder people an opportunity to help fill in the vision, even if the vision doesn't come first, but comes after the purchase. So the vision matters no matter where you are in the process, is what I'm
Are
hearing.
you building a Spanish home or a farmhouse or a French country? Maybe the vision that the executives gave were, oh, I want a home. Okay, is it California? Is it Florida? Is like, is it farmhouse? What type of home? And at this point, as a BA, I don't want to like be like, oh, you said farmhouse? Okay, cool. Let me just go build a farmhouse. No. Why are you building a farmhouse? You're living in Miami. You're living in city of palm trees. Like, shouldn't we like more we like Beverly Hills, like La Jolla, like what's happening? Like, so this is where again, there is vision, which is one line, then there's 5 lines, and then there's 100 lines, right? So a BA's job is to say, where is this painting going to hang in my room? But a BA's job early stage, which is how you become a business architect or an influencer, is to be like, is this room the right room where we're going to hang this painting? And then keep going, zooming out from there. Are you sure we were supposed to put the room here? And every time you ask those vision questions and you keep zooming out, zooming out, zooming out, it gives you an opportunity to A, see there's a gap, and B, go back, look for that stakeholder who is an influencer, and be like, hey, I think we need to vision board it. Because the moment they start vision boarding it, you will see that all they told you is, I want to purchase a house. They never told you what type of house, and they left it on the BA, who is supposed to be hanging the painting to figure out what type of house they want to build. And that's the problem.
Yeah, they skipped a few steps though. So going to the analogy back, then you're building a house. So we've been given this plot of land. This is our canvas for what we're going to build on.
Blueprint.
And then we have to bring in appropriately all the other stakeholders along the way, which might even be like, maybe this land is commercially zoned and I can't build some certain thing on it because there's a limitation legally. So when you have that idea of a canvas or a blank slate or a blank or an empty lot, you can start to, as a BA, figure out all the right people, and especially those who can influence decisions, to be part of the conversation. And maybe they weren't there when we bought maybe the wrong land or the right land, and we didn't know when we started the project in the early phases. Obviously, I guess what I'm hearing too is it's so great to involve a BA at the beginning, but what I'm hearing from you is even if you got in after the ground floor is built, there's still opportunity for you to make a vision happen and conserve and best utilize the resources that are available for the project, even if you get in the middle. And I think
I
there's a lot of
promise
us
you,
doing that.
every company can allow. If today you go to any company's leader and be like, hey, I don't think you're doing a great job, the next question they will ask is, how will you do it?
Mm, yeah. Don't come
And
to me with a problem, come to me with some
don't come
solution.
exactly. So instead of pointing at the leaders and be like, oh, I don't really understand your vision, I say, hey, let's take step back and take an opportunity for me to build my vision, and then automatically it creates two things. Number one, they can compare notes, right? How aligned we are. So it's a moment of alignment, their vision versus our vision. Second, if there are gaps, now there's admiration, because now we have filled those gaps, and now you have built, credibility, trust, that, oh, wow, this person has taken my vision one step further and still calling it my vision, which is amazing. And number three, now your BA and your execution teams who are in this execution mode have built some trust towards you, that you actually heard their problem and did not ask them to succumb to the situation, but really gave them an opportunity. And maybe the outcome is the same, right? The outcome could be they're like, sorry, go what you were told to do. And, we are going to build a farmhouse. Yeah. And maybe you took 2 months to arrive to that outcome. But to me, making decisions faster may not be the cheapest decisions to make. And based on what problem you're trying to solve, if it's a room problem, maybe it's not a big problem. So I don't have to take 3 months to make that decision. But if it's a house problem, that's where you have to pull a vision person in. So what that means is for small things, a BA should not be constantly pulling in influencers. This is where
All
their
right.
tact and articulation lies. And as BAs, we are fact checkers. We say this is a fact, this is a requirement, but with fact, bring in some tact because it's the same information that you give developer, you give product, you just know how to keep people happy. But that's like when you are fixing problems pertaining to a room. But if you're fixing problems pertaining to a house, that's a vision moment. So don't keep visioning out like all the time, even in the middle, but even in the middle, no. Again, know where you're in your journey, talk to people above you, talk to people below you, talk to people on your left, talk to people on your right, and don't just trust that the business unit that you're part of, that's the most important business unit. Understand you're in an enterprise and make relationships in different business units. Patricia
Yeah.
has seen me doing that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, if I'm taking notes, this is what I'm going to write down for that section, which is not just facts, but tact. Bring tact with your facts. You got to have tact if you want to share your facts. And I know in my 20s, and I won't say how long that's been, but in my 20s, I definitely didn't have that skill where I just came in and I knew it was right, even the facts brought out that I was right, but I wasn't so tactful in those 20s. And so if you're starting your career now, take note here of what Janaki's saying, which is bring tact with those facts. And I definitely that's going to bear out so that you can sell your message. It's not just about knowing what's right, but how you explain to your stakeholders and partners what's right. Bring tact with your facts. Oh, that's a great takeaway. We just have a few minutes left here. I don't know if Stephen or Kelly, if you want to bring a question or problem to the table, or if you just want to come off mute and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do. We're so glad to have you here. Would Stephen or Kelly like to add anything to the conversation today? And again, if you're driving, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Don't text and drive. All right, great. We'll be sure to include the links. So Janaki has posted here some freebies for us and her new creative adventure, which is called Firefly, fireflycreatives.io. That link is in the chat. We're going to share that when we share the recording. And so you can go there and get some early, brand new content and take advantage of that freebie as a gift from Janaki for all of us today. And the gift of your presence, which I'm so grateful to get you to do this on extremely short notice. And there's so many wonderful things happening and so many little takeaways and light bulb moments that I had today. I can't thank you enough. Aaron, is there anything you want us to add before we wrap it up? Or Janaki, is there anything that you want to talk about?
I think I'm good. Guys, feel free to test out and subscribe. There's going to be a lot of VA content on human architecture and business architecture. It's a very exciting field if that's something that you guys haven't explored your career opportunities in. I look forward, Patricia, if there are any questions from the group, just feel free to shoot me a note. And I'm always happy to answer any doubts or queries. But thank you so much for having
Okay.
me on the call.
It's been a great pleasure. Aaron, do you want to wrap us up? Aaron is my mentor and leader here, and I'm so excited that he helped us make this happen. We've been planning for weeks to talk to all of you and record this session for those of us who couldn't make it today in the Bluegrass chapter, and then anybody else who finds us on YouTube. Aaron, any closing notes for us?
No, nothing for me. You can wrap it up. I did repost Janaki's comments or the two posts that she put in the chat. So I reposted those for anybody who may have joined us a little later.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to close the recording and we'll see you all next time for all of the exciting events that we have, the free events that we have by the Bluegrass chapter. Please check us out at IIBA and we'll see you all next time. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Janaki. Good night,
Good night.
Aaron.